Hello and welcome to this programme brought to you by The Manufacturer. This is our digital day to kick off Manufacturing and Engineering Week. Here we'll be previewing some of the amazing show content that you can expect to see in Birmingham this week. We'll also be looking back through some of the companies that we've visited, the challenges and problems that plague them, and the solutions that they've found to mitigate these issues in some truly world-class examples of UK manufacturing. But first, an address from our partners and sponsors of M&E Week, Make UK, the national manufacturing organisation. Stephen Phipson will be in Birmingham this week. Here he is giving an address ahead of the show, detailing the importance of the manufacturing sector, the further strides that should and can be taken with help from government, and his hopes for this year's event.
Well, manufacturing is vital to the UK. It's always been a very significant part of the economy. It represents about 10% of GDP if you just take the manufacturing output, probably much greater than that if you think about all the secondary effects of manufacturing in the economy in the local communities, probably totaling more like 20-25% of GDP in this country. Employs 2.5 million people in very highly paid jobs, about 30% higher than the average wage in the UK. And of course, we're now focused on advanced manufacturing. We are the ninth largest manufacturing country in the world focused on that advanced manufacturing segment. There are some obviously common misconceptions when it comes to UK manufacturing. We did a survey around 18 months ago of the public opinion of manufacturing, and many people still believe it's Dickensian Victorian factories with smokestacks and people doing piecework on benches, when in reality it's not like that at all. It's a very modern, high-tech environment full of digital technology and full of some of the latest products that we see in everyday life. Not the consumer products, but the advanced products. We're world leader at commercial aviation wings, for example, medical devices, automotive. We have some of the most productive and modern plants in the world. So we should be proud of that heritage, but really that's a very different view to the one that the public has largely seen of manufacturing, and our job is to promote it and to really show just how advanced and sophisticated this sector is. So as one of the large business representative organisations in the country, we regularly sit with cabinet ministers and secretaries of state, and we discuss policy issues around the manufacturing sector, things that we see as vital for the growth and stability of our sector into the future. Obviously skills is up there. We're discussing at the moment the need for those vocational skills in our sector and some of the new skills we need for the decarbonisation objectives we have for the sector, as well as things like energy prices and support for industry more generally. But I think overall what we're really calling for from government at the moment, and you may have seen some of that press over the last couple of weeks, is a really good new comprehensive industrial strategy for our country which pulls together all the strands of policy that government has and applies it to the major challenges we have for the future, where manufacturing is going to be the answer to many of those challenges, particularly around the green agenda, decarbonisation and sustainability going forwards. So one of the challenges is attracting youngsters into our industry, because as I said before, many of the public perceptions are around the old Victorian factory scenario, which in fact is not the case anymore. So we are really keen on engagement with schools to make sure those youngsters understand the high-tech nature of our activity, and also the digital nature. It's increasingly digital adoption is a key part of manufacturing in this country. Coding, data analytics, these kinds of skills are absolutely vital, and we need a constant flow of youngsters into our sector to make sure we can sustain it into the future. Where we sit at the moment, the average age in manufacturing is around 52 years old. We know 20% of the workforce will retire in the next 5 years or so. So absolutely vital that we compete with all those other new sectors and show just how high-tech manufacturing in this country is. I think that's a task and a challenge to every single manufacturer that we come across, promote this in your local community, open your doors, show those youngsters just how exciting manufacturing is in the UK. The one thing that we are extremely good at in this country is innovation. We are by far the world leader when it comes to innovation for new technologies that we can get into manufacturing. Our challenge has always been making those scalable, making those commercially viable, taking really good, strong global commercial advantage of our innovations. The government has done a great job investing many billions of pounds a year in innovation in this country, but we still struggle to scale that up. And I think one thing we can learn from some of the other countries, particularly around in Asia, in that sort of area, is the ability with the right government strategy to scale up that innovation into large commercial organisations. So if there's one thing I'm really looking forward to seeing from a new industrial strategy, is how we scale up a lot of the great innovation that this country creates. So Manufacturing and Engineering Week is a vital part of the landscape of promoting manufacturing and being able to interact with each other in the UK. It's really vital as the national manufacturing organisation that we support these kinds of efforts. We have 23,000 companies that we represent in the sector, and making sure that they're aware of where those latest developments are, how they can exchange ideas with each other, and hear from some really great speakers about the latest innovation in our sector. It's absolutely vital that we give them that opportunity. M&E Week is now one of the premier events of the year where all of those activities can take place. So we are very proud and very committed to supporting M&E Week this week and into the future.
Our thanks to Stephen there, and we look forward to catching up with him further this week. Next up, we're going to give you a taste of what you can expect at this year's M&E Week. Thousands of new products and services from leading brands, insightful, impactful and eye-opening keynotes and summits, and of course plenty of fun along the way, all under one roof this week. As you can imagine, it's all hands to the pump here at the moment, but we have been able to catch a few of the team. The Manufacturing Magazine editor Joe Bush has just caught up with Portfolio Director for M&E Week, Harv Kenneth, and our Marketing Director, Verity Noon.
Hello, welcome one and all. It's Monday, it's the start of Manufacturing and Engineering Week. I'm here with Harv Kenneth, Portfolio Director, and Verity Noon, Head of Marketing for Manufacturing and Engineering Week. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you. Hello.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how excited?
I'm a little bit overly excited, so I might pop. So probably 12.
Yeah, I'm definitely a 10.
Like to hear it. Like to hear it. So I guess this is going to be a stupid question now, but are you looking forward to Manufacturing and Engineering Week?
Blood, sweat and tears been put into this event. I mean, just to summarise, it's 2 acquisitions, 4 existing events, a change of date line, a change of venue, a change of hall, new teams coming together. It's literally been a labour of love, but I can honestly say I couldn't be prouder. We've hit budget. The visitor numbers are looking amazing. So yeah, I'm buzzing. I thought I'd lost the bug years ago. I've been doing this for 26 years and it's back.
And for anyone out there who doesn't know, and why wouldn't they know at this stage, what can people expect? What can visitors expect from Manufacturing and Engineering Week?
Well, doors open to the live shows on Wednesday at the NEC at 9:30, and there is so much going on. We've obviously got, and just to say also, it's a carbon neutral event. So we planted trees in a forest in Tanzania. I think it was 8,852 trees to make sure this event is running as a carbon neutral event to offset our emissions. And we've also been planting trees for all the visitors that have registered and the ones that turn up at the show to again help to offset the carbon emissions that they'll be generating from their travel to the venue. So that's just one thing to say because that fits in really nicely with our sustainability
it's a big
journey.
Initiative for us.
And it's World Environment Day today, so it's a nice thing also to
ties in
mention.
nicely,
yeah.
We've also been working quite closely with other event organisers at the NEC that are running shows the same week. So this week we've obviously got Subcon and some other events at the NEC in adjacent halls, and we're working really seamlessly with them. So one visitor pass gets access to all 12 events at the NEC this week. So it's a really, really compelling reason why the visitors should come out of their plant offices and come down to the NEC because there is so much going on.
It is a bit of a first, really. I mean, it's not often that you see competitors coming together that organise trade shows. But I think the recognition at the moment is this sector needs as much support as it can get. So why sit? Why work separately when we can create a one-stop shop? I mean, the NEC is a huge venue. I don't know how many halls we're covering, but 12 events for manufacturing and engineering. It's unrivaled in the UK, and I think it really sets the scene for a great week.
Yeah. I heard recently the sort of manufacturing and engineering being, in terms of its impact to the UK, being described as the backbone in the background.
Yeah.
And I kind of think that's really apt. I think it's a sector that doesn't perhaps get the exposure that it should do. But in terms of content, Harv, plenty of keynotes going on, plenty of seminars, plenty of solution theatres. What's going on content-wise?
So, first of all, I just want to thank our esteemed advisory council. It's made up of 30 of the best in class in the UK. So we really have had some great advice, and together with them, we sort of agreed the 5 key pillars upon which we wanted to build the event, so the foundations of the event. So these are sustainability, we've got digital transformation, supply chain resilience, we've got people and skills, and then innovation. And all of the content has been built around this, as well as the marketing communications. So if we start with the 2 keynote theatres, we have the M&E Week Keynote Theatre, where we will have Nusrat Ghani, Minister at the Department for Business and Trade, will be doing the opening. And then we have Stephen Phipson, who will be talking about State of the Nation, and of course the recent Make UK Industrial Strategy report, which is obviously hot in the press at the moment. And then we also have the Main Tech Keynote Theatre, which is sponsored by RS. So there's some really great content going on there, some really well-respected speakers. And then we move on to the Solutions Theatres, which is where many of our vendors will be presenting. So we've got 6 of those. We've got the IIoT and connectivity. We have digital transformation, which is sponsored by Google Cloud. We have Innovation Theatre, which is sponsored by Siemens. Maintenance, robotics and automation, and then industrial data. So that's kind of the content that we've been running, or we've been putting together. But then we also have support from the Institute for Manufacturing, who will be hosting their master classes on the show floor, as well as Made Smarter Innovate UK, who have the Innovation Village and their innovation stage. So there's a lot going on there. We'll also be covering women in manufacturing across the event, which is obviously very important. So that's kind of the free to attend content. But then, of course, we have the manufacturer events. So we have the highly respected SME Growth Summit, as well as the Manufacturing Digitalization Summit taking place in the adjacent halls. So spaces, I think, are limited. I think one of them might already been sold out, but you can find out more on the manufacturer website. Talking about content a little bit more, we are organising a STEM initiative on the second afternoon, so that'll be between 12 and 4. So we're not trying to make it, to organise it too much, because obviously the reason for them to come is that they can come and see the future, to come and see the innovation, to see what's on show. But we have got some talks from Make UK, who'll be looking at the apprentice opportunities across the UK. We have the MTC talking about opportunities in robotics. Innovate and Made Smarter will be hosting some tours. And of course, there are over 400 exhibitors who will be there. So it's really an exciting opportunities for the 16 plus next generation.
Yeah, fantastic. Lots to see and do.
Yeah.
There's actually, I think, 12 universities signed up at the moment, all sending batches of people. Yeah, so it'll be a really good thing for them to come along and see.
Yeah. So one element that certainly caught my eye, and because we've covered quite a fair bit around it in the magazine in recent months, is the issue around cybersecurity. Manufacturing is now one of the most, if not the most, targeted sector for cybercrime. So it's a growing issue, and one that perhaps not all manufacturers are fully tuned into and aware of. So there's going to be a cyber trail taking place at the show. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I can. The Cyber Trail is featuring some really key solutions and some products, and you can walk around the show floor, and there's a trail around the exhibitions, and they're basically providing solutions to kind of mitigate the threat, prepare yourselves. You said yourself, the manufacturers, some of them are slightly maybe behind in terms of their cyber security and protection, and they, I think, are the most hit sector. They've taken over from some of the other
finance,
financial
overtaken
and
finance, right?
and healthcare, I think. So it's really important they find out what the threats are and how they can prepare and protect themselves.
It's also, I think, a growth opportunity for us at the trade show for the future, because it hasn't always been at the forefront of as Verity says, of some of these organisations. So with the addition of drivers and controls, air tech and fluid and power next year, I think cyber is something that will become potentially one of the new pillars that will come through and flow through the whole of M&E Week across the 6 events.
Yeah, and I think it's something that's going to go hand in hand with the rollout of digital technology.
Exactly.
The more that continues, the more that cyber security is going to be an issue, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Another element that took my eye, and is key to us at the manufacturer, and one of the driving forces behind SME Growth Summit is the SME zone. I'm not sure of the figures, but the vast majority of the UK manufacturing community are made up of SMEs. So so perhaps tell us a bit about that.
A couple of things going on here. We've got a zone where some of the SMEs are going to be focused in one area, and they are the backbone, they're the unsung heroes, I think, of this sector. So to put them in the forefront and give them the kind of spotlight that they deserve, I think, is really important. So there's a zone dedicated for them on the show floor. Don't get me wrong, there's some other SMEs scattered around the exhibition, but we have a dedicated area for them to be housed. And then the Innovation Alley, where some of the startup community, some really exciting, the newest and developing technologies that are coming through and shaping the future, I think, of manufacturing in this country in the next 5 to 10 years. We've got some really exciting bits of tech on that Innovation Alley, so make sure when you get there you take a walk down and have a look at what they've got to offer.
I think this is the view of the next 10 years into the future, really.
Yeah. I think I can certainly echo that, having attended Smart Factory Expo in the past and gone down Innovation Alley. It's those startups that can move so quickly, adapt so quickly, that some of the tech stuff that they're doing is really, really amazing.
Yeah, and they're
to
exceptionally
see.
agile and very driven.
Yeah.
Working with Innovate UK, the Made Smarter team, Innovate UK, KTN, it's been amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
They're a really focused group of people, and they've brought together, I think, probably the best bunch of SMEs and startups this year that I've seen.
The show is also 3 times bigger than it was last year, so that's reflected in the investment that a lot of organisations have put into the event.
Yeah.
Alongside that is the Innovation Village, and they have an innovation stage, which is another little area where they're going to be doing some presentations and have some really high-profile speakers speaking there. So there is so much going on. You're going to have to come down.
A week doesn't really seem enough, does it?
No.
It doesn't.
Well, it's a 2-day show, 7th and 8th, everyone.
If we haven't mentioned that, 7th and 8th.
7th and 8th of June. But yeah, there's a huge amount going on. And when you say, are you excited? I am excited and exceptionally nervous.
Well, it's there is also some fun stuff going on. It's not all going to be work.
No.
There's some fun stuff going on. And one element that really took my eye was the Guitar Legends. Tell us about that, please.
So I tried to play the guitar once. I had about 12 lessons, and still at the end of those 12 lessons, I was playing, I think it was Stairway to Heaven, and everyone that I just don't know what you're playing, Verity. So I'm not going to be competing in the Guitar Legends competition, but it's a competition running on both days. On the day you can come and drop in and obviously take part. We've got a recording studio booth, and it's sponsored by Nexa 3D, because they've produced 2 3D printed guitars, and that will be the winning prize on each day for the kind of the best.
It is amazing.
The best guitar hero or legend. They'll record a 30-second or minute piece, recording on an amp, and then we're going to judge them. And the Shadow Monkeys, our house headline band, will be judging the winner, and we'll present the winners on each day. And I said, take away a 3D printed guitar, which is exceptional. Very exciting.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Can't wait for that.
Yeah, really good.
We've really thought about how we bring a manufacturing event, an engineering event to life in that sense. So you'll see some great features around the show. I mean, even the manufacturer interview space looks amazing this year.
It does look great. Can't wait for it.
Yeah, it looks amazing, and the operations team here have worked really hard. So instead of having the networking bar, we've got the Top 1000 backstage bar, which celebrates the fact that it's the 10th year of the Top 100, hence the Top 1000. But you'll see that is being built like a backstage bar. We've got some amazing signage. There's some other things I'm not going to tell you about because I just don't want to ruin the surprise. But there are some really cool things that you will see when you get there and that you can interact with. And then on day 1, 4:30 till 6 at the Top 1000 backstage bar, we will have our party. So everyone's invited, exhibitors and visitors, and we'll have the Shadow Monkeys playing there, who are an excellent band that played at the Manufacturing Awards last year at Birmingham, at Liverpool.
Yep.
And then, of course, then at 6 o'clock, we move on to the top 100. So this year's sort of elite, honouring the top 100 in manufacturing this year. So there's some really nice things happening. There'll be stuff happening throughout the day. But yeah, we're quite excited about seeing our festival coming together.
Yeah, festival indeed.
And one more thing to add, I think, there's a new zone this year that we brought into the show. We recently acquired the Drives and Controls event and some other sister events on fluid power systems and airtech. And this year we're bringing in the drives and controls element just in a small zone, just for this year, because it's a biannual event. And then next year, when we come back for 2024, I don't even know why I'm talking about 2024 now, because we haven't even run 2023.
Because it's only happening, it starts the day and week after next.
Yeah.
When we come back next year, we'll obviously have the drives and controls, fluid power and airtech events back in full force, taking a whole other hall next to
so
ours.
this year we're Hall 4, next year we're Hall 4 and Hall 5.
Sure.
And Hall 5 is the largest hall in the UK, so there's no pressure there.
No
not
pressure at all.
But to have the drives and controls element just coming in, starting for this year, I think is a nice new element to bring in.
It is, and it also fits obviously very well with smart factory, robotics, automation. So
Absolutely.
the link there, I mean, we didn't buy these, for any other reason apart from the fact that they all work together as co-located events.
Yeah, I've attended Drives and Controls multiple times in a previous life, and it's a fantastic event, fantastic show. So that'd be a great addition.
Obviously, we've just talked about all the exciting stuff that's been going on, but obviously now looking at the camera, I just want to thank our exhibitors and our sponsors. Obviously, without you guys, we couldn't make this event come together. So we wish you all the best for this week.
Thank you, ladies. Enjoy
Thank
Manufacturing
you.
and Engineering Week.
We will. See you there.
Let's
See you
smash
in
it.
Birmingham.
Now, we've been around plenty of manufacturing facilities and sites over the past 18 months or so. And from these visits, we've learnt that manufacturers are still reporting challenges and are putting a particularly sharp focus on 4 main areas. These are areas that, of course, are all linked. Firstly, sustainability. Businesses are finding ways to reduce energy consumption and transition to alternative fuels. Secondly, skills, so attracting and retaining talent. The integrity and resilience of supply chains has been a huge issue in the last few years. And lastly, digitalization, technology-driven progress inside and outside of the factory. The companies in this report have all encountered challenges, but the solutions they've found and the progress they've made makes them a showcase of the best examples of excellence in UK manufacturing. These examples are taken from our many site visits over the last year and a half. UK manufacturing, along with so many other sectors, has been hit hard in recent years. Economic uncertainty caused by Brexit and COVID-19 and the ongoing conflict in Ukraine has made staying competitive, productive and efficient that bit trickier for businesses. But this industry, by its nature, solves problems, engineers new opportunities and turns adversity into advantage. In the next half an hour, you'll see some of the UK's finest examples of manufacturing in 4 areas of operation. These 4 areas have been identified by us at the manufacturer as the main focus points of the last few years. An ever-growing world trend, rather than just a business trend, is our responsibility for this planet. The world's leading climate scientists warned us back in 2018 we only have 12 years for for global warming to be kept to a maximum of 1.5 degrees Celsius, beyond which even half a degree will have catastrophic climate impacts for millions of people. So, UK businesses were under the spotlight, and as public inspection intensified, manufacturing's historically bad emissions record made for uncomfortable reading. Here, we've picked out examples that make for altogether better reading. Companies that are thriving in sectors that haven't always impressed environmentally. Commercial transport, both in the UK and beyond, the cosmetics industry, and, you'll be glad to hear, the largest industrial manufacturing company in Europe.
Trucks worldwide emit more carbon than the whole aviation and maritime sectors together. Let's look at the trends in electric passenger cars, battery passenger cars. What's happening right now in the UK is amazing. About 1/3 of all new EV passenger cars sold is all electric. Unbelievable, very proud. We should all be proud. But let's understand why. The average passenger car drives 1 to 2 hours a day. The newest EVs have hundreds of miles of range. You have 22 hours opportunity to charge every day. The passenger car, the battery passenger car, is fit for purpose. That's why the growth is so large. Trucks are going to go out for at least 8 hours of work per day. It's a large variance of different things they're going to do in those 8 hours, different trucks for different opportunities. Trucks need to move and work, so they don't really want to depend on, in the middle of the day, maybe leaving their route, looking for a charger, hoping it's not blocked by some random petrol car, sitting around for half an hour for a top-up charge and going back en route. And you don't necessarily, no fleet manager wants to send out trucks that are not guaranteed to complete their day, whatever that day is. In the middle weight classes, often it's back to base or reach its final destination. Batteries alone don't always cover all those scenarios, and that's why we have a focus on dual energy trucks. But as far as trends in the marketplace, trucks is much more nascent than passenger cars.
Carbon doesn't come with a country code on it, right? Carbon is carbon wherever you make it. The thing that people have to think about with the transition to EVs, if we just take what we do now and we transition it to EV, you get an improvement. But actually, we have what we have now because of the constraints of our existing technology. So when you start rethinking the industry, and EVs is a real big one. You know, in Europe, if you switch to an EV, you'll have lower fuel bills, right? But when you buy a car in the UK, your predominant cost is depreciation. That's like, doesn't really matter how much you spend on repairs, and it doesn't really matter how much you spend on fuel. When you go to an operating, an as-a-service model, actually EVs are really well aligned with a great business model, because you spend a bit more capital up front, but you get this total cost of reduction of like 70% less fuel and stuff like that over the lifetime of the vehicle. So in commercial as-a-service operations, EVs are just perfect. What they're not very good for is a sales model, because you've got to sell this thing that's more expensive on day one. Like, my customer can't afford it, I lose margin. If I'm running it for the lifetime, well, it's definitely in my interest to spend a bit more up front, because I capture the benefit in lifetime. So it's all about changing business models to make sustainability work.
When we look at, our direct operations, energy is a big, it's a big concern. But we've been on renewable energy tariffs since, 2008, 2009. We also installed more solar panel capacity. I think everyone that has a roof right now should be prioritizing installing more renewable energy capacity as locally as possible, not just from a sustainability point of view, but also now in terms of economic resilience, right? And making sure that you are less exposed to all the energy fluctuations that we're seeing. But we have an excellent energy manager, and he's been systemically, his name is Jack Gale, so I think all credit to him. But he's been systemically looking at all the opportunities for energy saving, whether it's adding roof insulation, working on the fabric of the building, whether it is electrifying our building. So we have a fully electrified building that was like our trial building. What would a building of the future, I don't want to say future, present, because we need to be doing this now. What does it look like? Full electricity, powered by renewables, with solar on the roof. Even the heating is electric. So we have been trying to drive both a reduction in energy demand through efficiency and other measures, and then how do we increase supply of renewables by tariffs or by producing it ourselves.
We've got the generation side, so how we generate our electricity, and also the consumption side, how we minimise those valuable resources. So on the generation side, we're using a biogas engine to replace some of the natural gas sources we were previously using, and we've connected with a local association in Congleton that were responsible for implementing a hydroelectric product where water flows down a weir and via an Archimedes screw that's converted to electricity, which is cabled into Congleton. On the consumption side, as you perhaps can see, we've done a lot in terms of LED lighting. We use a lot of air pneumatics in Congleton, so we've had a big program of repairing leaks, which any company will know is a big problem if you're using pneumatics. And some of the simple things like reducing usage of coffee cups and reusable things like that. So we're trying to do both, and we're trying to do it in a sustainable way for the future, because actually the challenge is never ending.
I think all manufacturing in the UK are going to have a big challenge, which is building infrastructure. And especially when it's like landlord locations, there is always this tug of war of like, whose responsibility is it to ensure that we have energy efficient buildings? And we don't have a good alternative for warehouse heating yet. So I think those are challenges that we need to come together as an industry in order to be able to support the growth of the infrastructure needed to do that. That's the kind of changes that everyone here in the UK is also going to have to do in the next few years. Yeah, in the next few years, not in 2040.
The talent shortage and the battle to attract young blood to the manufacturing industry is seen by many companies as the biggest problem of them all. The bridge between the industry and the sector has never been seen as a secure one, with one side often blaming the other for its instability. But we are seeing examples of good communication between manufacturers and education facilities, with some companies proactively seeking out partnership opportunities for mutual gain. We're also seeing robust action and attention given to apprenticeship programs, bringing talent pipelines closer to home.
Statistic that says that 20% of the UK's engineering manufacturing workforce will retire in the next 10 years. That's a bit of a shocking statistic, and we would hope that obviously we can correct that going forward within this generation.
We need to make people aware as OEMs, as educational facilities, that engineering really is, and manufacturing really is, a valid career path. There is some fantastic roles within manufacturing, and we need to make people more aware of it, of what is in there, and where it is going and how they can get on that journey.
I would hope that industry and education work together to ensure, first of all, that the gaps are identified, and to make sure that we can work with those providers of education in the right way to fill those gaps, and make sure that industry and education work together. We as a company ensure that we have a high emphasis of education within our strategies going forward. Ensure we've got the right products, we can deliver the right content, and we can help support those academies, those colleges, those schools and universities deliver the education that makes those young people come out of that education really confident.
When I first joined, the apprentice programme was mainly for production operator roles and wasn't really fit for purpose. So we spent a lot of work, a couple of years, enhancing it, making sure that we were looking at the right skills that we needed for the future of the business. And those roles of data analysts, data scientists, software engineers, accounts across all disciplines. We're looking at maintenance engineers, but we're not forgetting the HR functions, the account functions of the business. So it was a hell of a piece of work going in behind the scenes to get that to what it is today.
We're doing okay now again with apprentices. Historically, over the last 20 years, we haven't done as much as we should, and we have seen the problems. there is some fantastic apprentices coming in now. I mean, we're getting some great apprentices coming through because it's being made more aware to people in schools and colleges that it is a viable path.
So, I think the fundamental starting point is that, we don't have a vision of a completely optimal sort of factory. As a business, we're entrepreneurial and we're innovative. And as we grow, we become bigger, we learn, and we make the occasional mistake. So, where we end up is a situation where the people that are actually involved in that process grow with us, and we give them the opportunity in a particular factory to become the leaders. So, if you look around at all of our 6 sites in Sheffield, the vast majority of those leaders started on the shop floor, some as apprentices. So we grow and we develop.
A lot of businesses may say they have a culture and it might exist in some way, shape or form, but here it's almost a feeling that we can put up on the board and say, well, how do we embody that trust and care? Well, here's the set of behaviours that we expect others to adopt, and then when they don't, we are able to challenge at all levels. A big aspect of it is communication as well. It's not just those values aren't something that we trot out at an annual convention. They are everywhere, all walls on every site kind of thing. And yeah, everybody's just able to challenge and to understand what they look like in practice, which I think is the important thing, really. Seeing it in practice as opposed to it just being values on the wall.
I've worked for Lissy now for 8 years. It has took a bit of a change with this whole side of things since Mark Capel took over. But we really invest in people now. And you'll see from going out on the shop floor, the feeling of well-being out there is a lot better. People feel quite secure, and it's quite comforting for them to know that there is a team like us. I mean, I've had a couple of people come to me before, obviously not stating names or anything, and I've helped them. I could say one that was financial, and you can just give them the numbers to ring, or just little tips on how to be better with money. This lad was quite young, and it did help him. I got a few phone calls off him just outside of work, just saying he's doing better with this, he's doing better with that, and it was quite comforting to me. So it does work.
The unrest of the past few years has also hugely impacted global supply chains. Material shortages, increased energy and shipping costs, and managing Scope 3 carbon emissions are just a few of the supply-related headaches being reported by manufacturers. This is having an impact on many facets of business, and yet our manufacturers are adapting. Where current markets become untenable, new markets are explored. Where components run dry, procurement and sourcing teams find a way, and where lead times increase, build plans are adjusted.
I've been in this operation for 30 years, and the last 3 have just been very unique. So the pandemic obviously brought us, some very, very unique challenges, but actually the supply chain challenges we have now around us are even more difficult to manage through. So on a daily basis, we plan our operation, our production, and we're seeing supply shortages. Some of that we can see coming, and we can plan around it. Some of it is a surprise, and it's a surprise every day. And it's not necessarily the great big components like a cylinder block or a piston or a connecting rod or a crankshaft that we've been challenged by. It can be a nut and a bolt and a washer and a hose or a tube or a harness connector or a battery terminal. But when you're building a $100,000 component and you're short of a battery terminal, it can be really disruptive and hard to plan.
Firstly, we saw volumes drop through COVID, and then we've had to bounce back since, which has been extremely strong in the industrial sectors for Druck, but aerospace is still on a path to recovery. We have pressure sensors on almost all commercial aircraft in the sky. Secondly, I think electronics has been a huge impactor to the Druck business. Our main components are either electronic or mechanical. We have a world-class sourcing team and a well-connected technology team to our products. So we've been able to find alternative components to use where components have been in short supply, and our sourcing team have moved heaven and earth to find pockets of components that have really driven our ability to keep our lead times competitive. The other part of this is cost. So those solutions do not come free of cost, and that is a challenge to the business. Some of that we've had to pass on to our customers as price impact. Some of it we've had to absorb within the business. So those things are the real impactors from the hugely disrupted supply chains of the last few years.
The demand is a lot bigger than the supply globally for most industries. So we've had to really adapt the way that we do our procurement practices. So traditionally we had lots of Kanban items, and we had call-ins, and we had buffer stocks and safety stocks at suppliers. We can't do that anymore. So an awful lot of new efforts had to go into planning and also then, changing the way that we do. So ordering in advance, years in advance, looking at 2024 now. Not seeing any changes in that supply at the moment, but we've had different allocations before in previous years. So hopefully we're starting to see a little bit of improvement out there in terms of stuff's becoming more available, but they can't tell us when it's going to be available.
And then when you think about the logistics operation, we've developed and evolved a just-in-time supply chain from a global supply base. So we're bringing components from China, India, North America, Europe, UK, all together through to our line to be in the operator's hand, on a metronome to help him produce. That supply chain is just broken. And what was a 5-week lead time for a component from a global supplier is suddenly 10 weeks. But the delivery performance of that logistics process is about 30% of what it should be, 30% on time from a supplier. And so we've got to be really agile in how we adapt and flex our build. And we're able to do that. We're able to adjust our build plans regularly and have to in order to work with what we've got. We build in products and then having to put them back down the line to finish and to adjust just because of those challenges.
We've got over that Brexit hump now. We understand where we were. We did an awful lot of work before Brexit. We've overcome that. We did have some shortages in terms of delivery dates into us, etc., and deliveries being stuck in customs and suppliers not quite understanding the new paperwork and the Incoterms and all of these details. So basically now where we are is that we are just 2 days late, if you see what I mean, or 2 days difference to where we used to be prior to that, which is a huge achievement.
Yep, very challenging, difficult to plan, difficult to commit to, but our ability to flex has got us through that challenge.
Technology is driving the sector to dizzying heights, and fast. Indeed, the pace of technology growth has never been faster than the last 10, even 5 years, undeniably accelerated by the pandemic. Data capture is central to a smooth-running business, and automation and digital systems are key to efficient and productive facilities. Consumer demand for products continues to grow, and customer specifications are becoming grander and more intricate. Digital technologies are making already complex products even more advanced.
The helicopter is an unbelievably complicated product with non-linear problems when it comes to structural dynamics, aerodynamics, control systems. Nearly everything on a helicopter is more difficult than it would be on any other product. We have done a lot of work in the digital space for a number of years now. We have extremely good capability when it comes to
our simulation facility. We've got a world-class capability for simulating the behaviour of rotorcraft.
The cornerstone for us and why we've been in business for 50 years is our ability to make products efficiently and generate productivity. As you move into products which are more complex to manufacture, what has become clear for us is that we needed to get a lot better at making our data connected right from the IT world, if you like, through to the shop floor. So we spent a lot of time in developing seamless data where our systems are connected, and then what we've been able to do is start to introduce automation on this platform of seamless data where we can continue to identify productivity opportunities.
Compared to kind of doing the stock taking element with humans, I think obviously the reliability and accuracy of the data, it's going to be always much better, because when you do it with a digital device, it just kind of gets recorded exactly how it is on the pallet. So for example, quite a few of our customers actually have to write down, for example, barcode information or airway bills that come with the goods. So when you write things down, you might make mistakes, right? So from an accuracy perspective, digitizing that element is going to be always a step forward. Also getting the data much more frequently and in different volumes. So if you can imagine somebody going location by location in a warehouse, scanning that thing with a handheld scanner, writing it down on paper. With a robot, you can literally kind of get that information in a split second across an entire rack. So automatically it's just more data, which means more accuracy, and kind of getting that more frequently means better inventory processes.
Really exciting time for us here at Unix, because we're going through such a big level of expansion, both in terms of the volume of sales that we're doing, but also the technology that we're really harnessing here. Everything from your day-to-day traffic management all the way through to really cool AI technology that we're getting out there. And what that means for us here at Manufacturer is we've got to make those products for the team. So we're looking at huge amounts of innovation to keep ourselves on the cutting edge. It falls into two real categories for us really. We've got the agile element, so it's what are we doing day to day to keep ourselves delivering for tomorrow, but also we've got that innovation element. So what technology can we bring in that makes our customers see that we're the best to manufacture that product?
The power of the robot is about, I think, 14 to 18 hours, just depending a little bit on how much they have to travel. They are obviously fantastic in terms of taking care of themselves. When they do go low on battery, they'll find their way to the docks, get charged. Obviously, when they're ready to go again, they'll go out. So from that perspective, it's all, again, autonomously maintained. When it comes to any issues with the robots, like we have a lot of sensors and data, sensors that collect data from the robots' performances every single moment when they run. So if anything goes wrong or anything is not into the parameters, I will get notified almost instantly. So most of the times it's just something we can solve from a software perspective, from remotely in a couple of minutes. Or if we actually have to come in and do an inspection, we can do that, very, very quickly, depending on where the customer is.
There is more that we can do, though. At the moment, we've got a top-level flight simulation, but with levels of fidelity that we would like to see spreading back down into all of the subsystems, so that we've got a true model-based systems engineering basis for some of our future developments. We have, though, recently won the Divisional Award for Innovation, Process Innovation, when it comes to the work we've done simulating the behaviour of our aircraft in the ship airwake environment, looking at how easy it is to land rotorcraft on ship's decks and so on. So that's encouraging, but we've got more to do.
From a factory perspective, over the next 10-20 years, we're going to see huge amounts of automation brought into the factory. We're looking at real-life robotics at the moment alongside our software robotics, but that brings a lot of technology along with it about how can we understand the data of what we're producing. So making sure our quality's up to scratch, making sure the products are meeting the demands of the customer. A really good example of that is some low-cost AOI we're looking at the moment, so automatic optical inspection, hugely expensive process, and at the moment we put every single product through that process. So we're looking at really cool innovative solutions where we can take that board and inspect it in other ways.
What's, I think, really important to understand, though, is we're not yet in a world where we can look at full automation of all of our products and processes. So the environment that we're in Congleton, and I see for many manufacturers, is working out the best mix of people and automation and how that works together collaboratively.
Many industries have been affected by the turmoil of the last few years, but the manufacturing sector has felt the brunt of it. But Challenge has bore progress. Digital advancements, more acute environmental awareness, a greater focus on the well-being of people, and a desire to, where possible, manufacture closer to home to mitigate supply issues. Will we find ourselves looking back on this time and reflecting that it truly was a period of enlightenment for the industry? Whatever the case, we eagerly look to the future of this sector with anticipation of the innovations and advancements still to come. Our thanks to all of the companies that have allowed us to visit their facilities last year and this year. We truly believe this is one of the best ways to open people's eyes to the sheer breadth of opportunity, ingenuity, and innovation that exists in UK manufacturing. So thank you to our manufacturers. Thank you to Make UK and Stephen Phipson. And thank you to you for watching our Digital Day. We hope you enjoyed the programme and we look forward to seeing you at M&E Week on Wednesday and Thursday. Bye for now.